Hello and welcome to another episode of Learning to Live in the Present Moment. My name is Ted Robinson and I'm your host today. You know, I must make a confession right up front. I've been having a lot of trouble over the last couple of weeks being present. And the reason for that is because of the murders that happened in France, the 12 murders with the editors and staff of Charlie Hebdo. And it's caused me a great deal of concern, worry, and mostly it's occupied my mind. And that's the reason I have not been able to be present very much. My mind has been focused and occupied and fearful to even respond with a video like this. Because if somebody else in another country doesn't like what I say or takes affront to what I say or thinks that I have somehow condemned or criticized their religion, they believe they can actually come to my country and kill me. Now, I know that's an oversimplification, don't misunderstand me. I do know that. But that's effectively what's happened here. Now, I wrote an article that I didn't publish because I was too afraid to publish it, quite frankly. The article basically said, I believe we're in World War III. It's already started and nobody's acknowledging it yet. And that's really serious stuff. You know, Nostradamus back in the 1500s said that World War III would start in the Middle East. Over the years that I've read Nostradamus, occasionally, I thought that was ridiculous. I'm not so sure anymore. I believe that the lack of condemnation from religious leaders for what's happened is effectively a condoning of what happened. And that's my concern. The theocracies of the Middle East, and that's what they are, and that's what many countries are, don't misunderstand me. Many countries around the world are theocracies, meaning their government follows their religion. In fact, doggedly follows their religion. And as a result, the sovereign state of whatever, whoever, wherever, has adhered to their religious dictates of the primary religion in that country. And as a result of that, there is no condemnation, which effectively becomes condonation, meaning they've condoned it, whatever's happened. And that's my concern. Now, I don't want to get into blaming Muslims. That's not it at all. That's not it in the slightest. Muslims are simply following their faith, and there are many, many things that I strongly adhere to in the Muslim faith. I believe what they do with praying 5 times a day is absolutely perfect. I wish every religion did that. I wish every religion did more than that, in fact. I wish we would recognize that we're one with God all the time. But I'll get to that in a moment. I also believe that what they say is God is great, and there is but one God. I agree with both those things fully. So how is it that we can have this particular faith being, called out because of these murders? Well, it's not the first religion that has had extremists who murdered people. There's no question about that. You can look in America and see a Baptist church that is making demonstrations around funerals of servicemen. And nobody in the Christian faith is condemning them, that I know of. There have been many instances of religions throughout the world, throughout history, that kill in the name of God. All of those are aberrations in my view, every one of them. But all of them derive from a certain belief. It's a very simple belief, but a core belief of humans across the board. And that's what I want to address today. Humans tend to believe that they are separate from God. That since God is up in heaven and they're down here, we are separate. That's the fallacy and the basis for all the problems in my view. I don't believe, first off, that God is up in the clouds wearing white robes and a white beard. I don't believe that. I believe God is an entity or an energy, if you will, and it's the energy of unconditional love. I believe that God is omnipresent, present everywhere, all the time, in everything and everyone, including those people who murdered 12 innocents. God is in everyone, all the time. So, here's the problem. Why don't people understand that? Why don't they get that simple fact? The reason is because they've been taught otherwise. They've been conditioned to believe that God is someplace out there, separate from them. And that they have a soul that if they're very good here on earth and follow all the dogma and dictates of their particular religion that they follow, they will one day get to go to heaven and be with God. I think some say, and sit on the right hand of God, sit on the left hand of God, sit next to God, be with God in heaven. I believe that's a fallacy. I'm sorry if I'm stepping on anybody's religious beliefs, but I believe it's a fallacy, and I'll tell you why. It's the mind of man trying to figure out the mind of God, and that will never, ever work. I don't care what religious leader, who it is, what it is, nobody with this small, finite mind of man, this limited mind of man, will ever truly comprehend the infinite mind of God. And that's central to this discussion. So, what do? We feel separate. We're humans and we want to be with others. We want to be together. We don't want to be separate. Yet we are told we are separate. We are taught we are separate. We are away from God. We should bow to God and bless God and worship God and ask for God's blessings. But all of that indicates that God is separate. That God would not give his blessings or her blessings to us unless we were good little children. I believe that's all nothing but control mechanisms of religion. Trying to make sure that those people who might be otherwise out of control act well. I do not accept that at all. I believe that God accepts you and me and everyone else, even the murderers and the child abusers and the rapists. Everyone gets accepted by God with total loving acceptance. God is love. And it's only the mind of man that believes otherwise. And that's the problem. I believe that religious leaders that have all these extreme beliefs, they probably actually believe all that stuff. They feel separate from God. We've got to do things for God to be blessed by God. They actually believe those things. I believe they don't understand at all, anywhere close to what really is required from God. You know what's required of God? Nothing. God simply says, go out and experience life. Go out and have an experience. Not go out and have fun, not go out and be bad, not go out and murder, not go out and avoid murder. Just go out and experience. Have some experiences. That's what you're here for. I'll explain what I mean by that in just a moment. Don't go away. I'll be right back. Welcome back. What do I mean by just go out and have experiences? Well, it's based on a very simple premise. I do not believe that I have a soul, and that if I'm really good here on earth in this human existence of body and mind that I have, I will get to heaven. I believe I am a soul that inhabits this body and mind. Now, it sounds like a slight distinction, but I think it's a huge distinction. It determines what you believe is real, where your reference point is. Do you believe that this body is real, this mind is real, or that your soul is real? Most of us have been taught and conditioned to believe that we have an immortal soul that will go to heaven if we follow the rules. But the soul, we sort of don't feel or see. We hear that it's our spirit. I would suggest to you it's the reverse. That I am a soul, as are you. And here's the important part. As a soul, I'm directly in connection with God at all times. I don't have to wait to get to heaven. And here's the real crux of it all. If I choose to be present in this moment, I am awakened to heaven on earth now. Here, right now, heaven on earth exists. The key to getting to heaven on earth is the quieting of that conscious mind, the ego mind, that's constantly telling you you're separate from God. Constantly judging you, constantly looking into the past and looking into the future, but not being here now. That's the essence of the whole trip. To get to here now. And all these experiences that we have in our lives is to get us to come back to here now and discover that heaven is already here awaiting our arrival. God is just waiting for us to come out of our mind, to come out of the dream we've learned to call life, and recognize this is heaven on earth right here. This is it. And when you're present, you know it. You don't judge it. You don't try to figure it out. You just know it. In fact, you're in an awakened state the moment you become present. The awakened state means that you have awakened from the dream that we tend to call life, that we tend to believe we're separate from God. Suddenly, we're here in this moment, present with God. And God is in every leaf, every frond, everything you see, hear, taste, touch, or smell is God. And you know it. That's heaven on earth. And you know that you're not separate from God anymore. In that moment, you're not striving for anything. You're not trying to escape this experience of suffering on earth. You're not trying to follow the rules and the dictates of religion. You are simply here in the hands of God, and you know it. Just think about that for a moment. In fact, don't even think about it. Just feel that for a moment. Just feel that for a moment. And I'll be right back. Welcome back. So what does all this mean? What's the solution? How can I be present when my mind is so actively engaged in fear, worry, anxiety, stressed out over these murders, and even stressed out over, should I publish this video? Well, the answer is quite simple. I am a soul. I am immortal. It does not matter if they kill me. It only matters to my mind. I am here now, and this is all that truly matters. By taking this position, by announcing this position, I invite all other people on the earth to join me in presence, knowing that this is heaven on earth, that this can be the end to your separation. This can be the end of all disagreements between religions if you simply acknowledge and accept that this is it. This is heaven on earth here, right now. I am not separate from God at all. Now, don't for one moment think that my mind is not turning and twisting right now in the back of my head. It certainly is. How could you say that? What are you doing? I'm speaking to you from presence. I'm talking to you while in presence. I have no fear in this moment. I know that when I leave this moment, my mind may certainly come back in and say, what did you do? What are you thinking about? But the fact of the matter is, God wants only one thing from us, to have experiences. Have all the experiences you can have, because your soul evolves as a result of each experience, the good ones and the bad ones. Because good or bad is nothing but a judgment of my mind anyway. And it really doesn't count. They're just experiences from which my soul will eventually remember who I am. I am here now. I am that I am. This is all there is in reality. The rest is just my mind. All my judgments, all my fears, all my beliefs that I'm separate from the people that have done these tragic things, these terrible things, are just my mind, keeping me separate from them. Ultimately, I am love, just as God is love. And here's the good news. So are you. So are they. The only thing that causes people to do what they've done is their own fear and judgments. We're comprised of two things. Two. Love and fear. I choose love. How about you? When you choose love, you choose the present moment, because that's who you are in the present moment. When you go back into your mind, you choose fear. It's just an automatic. Sorry. And when fear is present, so is separation. And separation brings other results, just as we've seen in France. So, how do we do this? How do we practically do this? Well, there's only one way that I know of. That's through forgiveness. Knowing that even as we forgive the others who have done such terrible acts, there is nothing to forgive. It was just another experience. It's just part of the dream of the mind, of the minds, who actually believe that they're separate from one another, who actually believe they're enemies. Ultimately, we are all just one. We're part of God. We can't escape God. God is in everything all the time. But God will not interfere. God gave us free will and said, go have experiences. And so that's what we're doing. We're having experiences. And we're busily judging those experiences all the time, aren't we? Some people die, some people kill. Just experiences. If you really truly embrace the fact that you are a soul, you can remember this very clearly. You are immortal. You, the soul, never dies. You just incarnate again, if you choose to. You come back around again to have more experiences. Maybe the murderers next time will be the murdered and finally realize the error of their ways. Finally realize that they are one. They're all the same. The Course in Miracles says, whatever you do to another, you do to yourself. So I prefer to demonstrate love to others. I prefer to see them as me and me as them. That's what I want to demonstrate. As Gandhi said, if you want peace, be peace. Don't go out and demonstrate for peace. Be peace. If you want understanding in the world, be understanding. Demonstrate it clearly. Be what you want to see in the world. Because whatever you do to another, you do to yourself. So if you want peace, be peace towards others. If you want understanding, understand them. Boy, my mind is giving me a hard time right now. It says, what are you doing? Don't be crazy. But these are the right things for me to say. These are the things I want to be in life. And I encourage you to consider the same things. Because we can always have another war. We can always kill each other, maim each other, kill families, blow up things. But that doesn't do it. That only separates us further. We really need to get back to oneness. Consciously know that we are one. And then all this other stuff will eventually have to dissipate, have to go away. Because when enough people start to embrace their oneness with everyone else, instead of their separation and differences from everybody else, there's no enemy then. We're all just one. It's become an awfully small world, hasn't it, with new communications and abilities to transport things and people quickly. It's a very small world now. We are one on this earth, and it's getting smaller all the time. I suspect and I suggest it would be time to shift to oneness and the recognition that we are here as one people with one God. And all the distinctions between how we worship and what the rules are for each other are really, truly not as important as remembering that we are one. And that we are souls that is one with God. All of this acrimony, all these terrible acts could go away, will go away, when the majority of people in the world, well, I like to say when all people in the world, come to that simple recognition and accept it, that we are one. And we are one when we are individually present. We're one with God, we're one in heaven on earth, and we are one with ourselves. It's always that mind that tends to get in the way and tends to tell us otherwise and act from fear. But when we are one, when we are in the zone of presence, we are love. God is love. We are in heaven on earth. And that's what I'm urging the world to embrace. And you and I as well. I hope that's helpful. It certainly has helped me to talk about it with you. I want to let you know that this comes to you from the Center for Inner Healing. We're located in Hempstead at 26 St. Paul's Place, and the zip is 11550. We hold a Wednesday night meeting for 2 hours from 7 to 9 p.m., and we do a Sunday night telephone conference that's free. The Wednesday night is not free, but we always make accommodations for people. You're invited. And you're invited to remember that you are immortal, you are a soul, and you are part of the oneness of God in the world. All of this happens when we are present. And that's what this whole show is about. Learning to live in the present moment. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time.